when you reflect, you think about situations or people that you know in your heart that you owe an apology to.
Yeah.
And you have to take responsibility. So maybe this could be a time for some self-reflection and maybe some apologies that could mend some relationships.
Yeah.
Right?
And even apologize to yourself sometimes. Like, you know what,
Yes.
self, I'm sorry.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I've been hurting you. I've been saying negative things to you.
Yeah.
And I have put you in a position where no wonder I second guess myself. And no wonder my self-esteem is low.
Right.
So I apologize for not saying how beautiful you are and how amazing you are
Right.
and how successful you're going to be. And so sometimes we owe ourselves that apology because, you know, we are where we are because we call ourselves broke. We call ourselves broken. Right? So you're right. Self-reflection, I think, is the real key here.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven and family-focused and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Darnell Self and T Self, also known as Tracy Self and Bougie Beans on Instagram. And this is the Self-Talk Experience. Remember, the things we say to ourselves, about ourselves, eventually determines what we attract and even who we attract for ourselves.
That's why my shirt says self-love.
Yep, it's about the self-love for me.
Is it, babe?
Yes, that's our real last name, by the way. If you're just joining us, it is Darnell and Tracy Self. We didn't make up the name just for the podcast. In fact, we made up the podcast because of our last name,
right?
And the things that we've been saying to ourselves has helped us to shift our life and our lifestyle.
Absolutely. And by the way, I would like to thank my good friend Alistair Edwards out of Atlanta, Georgia, for our shirts.
Yep, appreciate you, bro. Hey, listen. So today, let's talk about something I think a lot of folks have a challenge with.
Okay.
And that is,
do I have a challenge with it?
Not so much.
Oh, good. Okay, then we can talk
Not so
about
much.
it.
Not so
Yay.
much. And I think because we have talked about this and have been intentional about it,
Okay.
but I've seen it with kids.
Oh, okay.
Like not just adults. I think it starts early. In fact, what I've noticed is that it does start early.
Okay.
And that is what we're saying to ourselves about apologizing. Not just apologizing to ourselves, but apologizing to others too. And I feel like what happens is that people are afraid to say I'm sorry as if it makes them weak.
Okay.
And so have you noticed kids that sometimes you say you're sorry. Sorry. It's like the heart. Where did that come from?
Right.
Where it's like a bad thing, like it's broccoli instead of ice cream. You know what I mean? Like where did it come from when we felt like saying sorry was like a nasty thing instead of a great thing? Instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry. So what if you could shift?
So you're saying you feel like it starts from when we're younger?
I'm just saying I see it in kids. I see when parents say you're sorry, and the child's like, sometimes don't want to say it.
Well, are they not saying it because they don't think they're wrong? If you don't think you're wrong, then you wouldn't say sorry. You're only saying you're sorry because your parent is telling you to say sorry.
No,
right?
Yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it's apparently that the kid did something. They stepped on a shoe of an adult. They ran a basket at the grocery store in front of someone, and you say you're sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Instead of saying sorry.
Right.
Like it's a good thing. Sorry is a good thing. It means I'm taking responsibility. I'm holding myself accountable for the choice I just made. And even though there's unintended consequences that happen sometimes for my choices, we're like, well, I didn't know that was going to happen, but it's still, I'm sorry because it still put us in this situation.
Right.
Let me give you an example. So I'm in business with a business partner, let's say. And the business partner does some unethical things.
Okay.
So we go out of business.
You don't. Only the business partner.
No. We both. The business goes out of business because the business partner stole all the money. Or let's just say the business partner stole all the money.
Okay.
So our business, because we were partners, is now out of business.
Okay.
It's not my fault that the business partner stole the money. It's not my fault that the business owner, my business partner, lacked integrity. But yet my family is still in a situation because the business went under. Check this out.
Okay.
Should I apologize to, let's say, my family and say, I'm sorry that we're in this situation? Sometimes things happen to us, and I have to look at it as it's happening for us, so that maybe I'll do more due diligence when I'm choosing my business partners. Perhaps I turned a blind eye when I felt like, that doesn't feel right. Do I still find a way to hold myself accountable for things that perhaps were out of my control?
Yeah, but you can't apologize for something someone else did that you didn't do.
Yes, but check this out. Hey, this is good. This is a good podcast. This is a good podcast episode. So if you are hurting from the consequence of what happened, even though I didn't necessarily play a role in the business partner's actions, but you're still hurt because the business I was running to help feed us is now out of business. Should I still apologize for the hurt that you're feeling? I'm sorry that we're in this situation right now, and I'm going to figure out a way to get us out of it. Do I just say, hey, this is what it is, and we're going to move forward?
Well, a lot of times I find that sometimes you don't apologize because you don't feel like your apology matters. So if you don't feel like your apology matters, it's kind of like, sorry, like whatever. They don't care anyway. It doesn't matter. So sometimes that could be the case. I just don't agree with apologizing for something someone else did. I do understand what you're saying about taking accountability for what the person is feeling.
Yeah.
But is that an apology? Or is that just kind of saying, hey, unfortunately, this happened. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry our family's hurting. But you can't apologize for something you didn't do.
Yes. So this is, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Maybe I'm just posing this to our audience because I have found myself in situations where I played a role but wasn't responsible. And I still took on the responsibility of apologizing that we are now in this situation. So I played a role, but I wasn't necessarily responsible for the action that caused this result.
I know, but I feel like I would just say to you, you don't have to apologize to me. That wasn't your fault.
And that's fine if you say that, don't have to. That's exactly okay.
I wouldn't expect an apology from you.
Yeah.
An acknowledgement of this is crazy, we're in a situation. Yes. But I wouldn't expect an apology.
Yeah. So check this out.
Would you expect one from me? Like if the situation was reversed, is that what you're saying? That's what you would feel would be the right thing to do?
I'm careful to expect from others what I would do.
No, just
because it sets you up.
I get that. Yeah. I get that. I'm just asking you, if the situation was reversed in your mind, would you think, I think that she should apologize?
I think that all great leaders lead with apologies when things don't go in the direction that they intend. And you apologize so that you can reset. And an apology is saying, hey, I made a choice. Now, whether you were responsible for the result, you still chose that business partner.
Right.
See what I mean? So I still chose this action. Let's say this food makes me sick and I didn't read the ingredients. I still have to I made the choice. So you can say, well, they should have, the person at the restaurant should have said this. Maybe I should have asked because I know I have the allergy. So my point is, there's always an opportunity for me to say, did I play some role?
Right.
And most folks are not willing to self-reflect that way and to look inwardly to say, did this choice lead to this choice, lead to this choice, lead to this choice? And even though I didn't make this last one, some of the choices I made still led me to this place.
Right.
And perhaps I could have done something differently 5 years ago. And I'm just saying that self-reflection allows me to reset often because I'm not carrying with me the weight of man, I hurt this person's feelings.
Mhm.
Man, I put this person in this position. And they will say, you didn't put me in this position. I chose. I'm like, yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. But I also chose this. So I think we both probably played a role in that.
Right.
So it has allowed me to have more fruitful conversations and negotiations.
Mhm.
Has allowed me to move forward and leave baggage behind when I'm willing to say to myself, could I have done something differently? And you're like, well, it was traffic. Could I have woken up earlier?
Mhm.
I didn't cause that accident, but could I have woken up early? The answer is yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could have said, hey, just in case there's some traffic. I mean, I looked at the nav system. It says 30 minutes. It took 45 minutes. That's not my fault. I didn't know there was going to be an accident. I already looked at it the night before. It said 30 minutes. Could I have given myself a 15-minute window just in case there was an accident? Because that's what one of our kids would do.
Right.
Right? Because he's like, to be on time is just not sufficient.
Mhm.
You got to be early.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like there's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
And you have me thinking about kids. And so the word sorry sometimes has different meaning. And maybe that's what happens when people don't want to say it. So I've said plenty of times, oh, I know we were supposed to go to the park. I'm so sorry it's raining. Not my fault it's raining. But I'm saying sorry for telling you we were going. So it's
no, not exactly. So in that case, no, that's good. This is good. I'm so glad because I hope this is helping out the audience too. Because you're right. There's so many ways you can look at this. Right, almost feels multidimensional. But check this out.
Right.
So I'm not sorry that I caused it to rain because I'm not Mother Nature.
I'm sorry we can't go because it's raining. But you're actually saying I'm sorry.
Right. So in that case, I wouldn't apologize that we can't go to the park because of something I did. But if that person doesn't feel well about mentally, they're struggling with whatever it is. We're just using the park, so it wouldn't be a mental struggle, but it would be their disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry you're disappointed. Hopefully you'll be able to go this Friday. So that way, I'm not apologizing at that point. I'm just saying I'm sorry that you don't feel good, that you're disappointed. And in that case, I'm not taking accountability for anything. See the difference?
Right. But what I'm saying is that's what I would say. So sometimes when you mix your words, it mixes the emotions and the attachment to the word.
Right.
If I'm saying, I'm sorry it's raining, so we can't go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's in their mind.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So then they're learning how to say sorry for things that they have no control over.
Right. Yeah. And I think with maturity, listen, let me just say it like this. Adults know when they did something and they're trying to pretend like they had no role in it. It was out of their control. They're playing a victim. And it's like, woe is me. You knew that bill was due. You knew that this would hurt that person. You knew that this would cause you long term to not be healthy because you ate that way. You knew, like, I know that. As an adult, I know better. Yeah. I know that I'm not going to be in the shape I want when I'm not eating right. And I know when I'm eating this dessert that I probably shouldn't be because it's going away from my goal, if that's the case. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, yes, you're right in terms of people perhaps mixing their words. Like, I'm so sorry we're not able to do that today when you had no role at all in Mother Nature. So
that's just a kind of a psychological thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I find too, sometimes you don't apologize because you don't really value the relationship. So if I really value you and I care about you, I'm going to not only say I'm sorry, I'm going to say I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. How can I fix it? What can we do? That was my fault. I take responsibility. But if I don't really care about the relationship, so you're not going to say sorry? I mean, like, nah, I'm not going to say sorry.
But do you think that has more to do with...
Is that an ego?
I don't know. I'm about to ask, do you think, and because I don't know, I'm asking, do you think that has more to do with the person than just the relationship? Or is it a mix?
I think it could be a mix. I think so.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you're a person who doesn't mind taking responsibility, you probably do that because typically how you do one thing is how you do a lot of things. And if you're just that person who takes responsibility, you don't play victim, then you probably take responsibility for most things in most relationships, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like you said, in some relationships, you may go a little bit further. And it's like, oh my gosh, because you're trying to save that relationship.
Right,
You're
because
trying
you
to
really care.
Right. There's a wedge there and you're trying to mend it.
Uh-huh.
So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Way to look at it.
It is. It is. So, I would say this because this whole topic is about our willingness to take responsibility and to say, I'm sorry
Mm-hmm.
for a role that we played in causing something, a relationship, causing a situation to turn out unfavorable.
Right. I don't think I've ever had a problem or an issue with apologizing, especially if I felt like I hurt someone.
Yeah.
And we talk about this too. Never say if. If I hurt your feelings, if I did something. No, I told you did. So you did. Mm-hmm. Right? So that word if is tricky too, because you're not really saying you're sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you told me you hurt my feelings. So I said, oh, if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
Right. Yep. Yep.
No. So then to me, you're not really taking
responsibility. That's going to help somebody.
You're not really taking responsibility for it because you're saying, if I did,
right.
But I told you did. Right. So now your apology means nothing to me.
Yep.
Right. But if you say, I did, I'm sorry for how I made you feel because obviously I did make you feel that
right. You're acknowledging that person's feelings are valid.
So that to me is sincere.
Yeah.
Right? It's coming from a sincere place.
Yep.
But if, not so much.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes, again, it's just a matter of being taught how to communicate.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because that you may have just helped someone out there because they don't even mean it that way. They're like, well, because it's out of habit. They always say it. Mm-hmm. Well, if I, you know what I mean? And they really perhaps sincerely feel bad about it, but they're angry in that moment.
Right.
The timing's off. Or they just don't have the communication skills that you do. Mm-hmm. So now that you shared that, someone might say, man, I say that all the time. And it's discounting the acknowledgement of how that person actually feels. They just said, I feel this way. And you're like, well, if you know, so we just discounted what they said.
Right.
But perhaps
whether you
don't
agree
realize,
with it or not.
Right. And perhaps you don't realize that we discounted
just
them.
Take accountability for it and have a conversation.
We didn't, right. We didn't acknowledge how they really feel.
Right.
Like you feel that way.
Right.
And I obviously played a role in that, or at least you feel like I did.
Right. So you have to talk about it.
So let's talk about that. Right. So some of that comes with communication. Maybe I'm sorry is not relevant there, but hey, can we talk about this so that perhaps you can help me to see what role I played in you feeling that way. And then when they explain that, you may say, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it that way. When I said that is insensitive.
Yes.
And I didn't think about it that way.
Well, I think the root of what you were talking about from the beginning is when you have a problem or it's hard for you to apologize or say you're sorry, that you are a person who may not always take accountability or responsibility. So when we get better at that, then we'll get better at being vulnerable and saying, you know what, I apologize, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right. But we have to get better, personally developed, to feel like it's okay to be wrong.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
And some of us don't want to ever be wrong.
I know. And here's the thing. None of us are perfect. So we're going to be wrong.
And you learn when you're wrong.
Right. We're going to be wrong. So let me ask you this. You used to say this all the time. And I'm trying to remember exactly how you said it. It was like, your choices aren't my consequences. Is that what it is? Or something close to that?
Yeah. So I tell the kids all the time, your choices are not my consequences.
So let's talk about this real quick. Just because I'm thinking about this, because earlier we're talking about apologizing, taking responsibility, holding yourself accountable for things that may be unfavorable in your life. And so what if your children, let's just use children as an example, but it could be anybody, your best friend, spouse, whoever, did something, but specifically kids in this scenario, and you're like, I didn't make that choice. Is there some moment of reflection to say, wow, perhaps I did not encourage them enough to do this more when they were younger, so now they do that? Like, I didn't praise this, so they didn't know this was good. So is there some responsibility to say, man, maybe I should have done more of this. I don't even know the answer to this. I'm just asking, like, is that a moment? Like if I'm talking to one of my sons and he's like, Dad, I'm sorry. Like it was a horrible choice. And I can't believe I even did that. And I'm sorry I disappointed you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a moment for me to say to him, I know that that's not who you are. And sometimes we make decisions that aren't reflective of who we truly are and how we were raised. But perhaps, son, that was something I could have said to you earlier on when this happened. Or perhaps I should have been harder. Is that a moment for me to say, let me take some of that? I don't know. I'm just saying, because there's no book on parenting.
It's not. And I think every situation would be different, right? But I can appreciate that, what you're saying.
Yeah, I just thought of it because you talked about, I remember you always saying, your choices aren't my consequences.
And I'll do whatever I can to as much as I can.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you are where you are because of you.
Right,
not because of me.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? So, but maybe that's too hard. Maybe.
No, I think all of us.
But I understand. But what you're saying is good too.
Yeah.
It is. It's really good. But
I know it's hard because like you make a decision and it affects us. I still chose you to be my partner. Mm-hmm. So somewhere along the line, is that some on me because now you're leading us down this hole, and I'm like, yeah, but I chose you, and now you leave. Like, is that on me too? Even though that I didn't make your choices, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like some counseling or something that needs to be had. I don't know. I mean, it's a wide subject.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not, but it's a wide subject.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring this up is because we think about our podcast, mm-hmm. and we really start thinking about, okay, what do we want to do with the self-talk experience? What do we want to drive home to our audience? And is we want our audience to start saying better things to themselves about themselves. Right. Uh-huh. The story you tell yourself about yourself, right, is important. Mm-hmm. And if taking responsibility for some things helps you to course correct because you face it and you don't avoid it and you don't pretend, you don't point the finger.
That's good.
And that's what I guess what I'm really trying to get to, because a lot of it is, you're absolutely right, it's situational. It could be like, well, that situation, you probably shouldn't apologize because they're a grown man, they made that choice. But then there's some situations where you're like, you know what, I allowed it.
Yeah. So
I actually helped to feel that without knowing it.
Sure.
Right. So some of that's on me because I should have said this 5 years ago. I'm just saying it now. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean. Like, some of it is there, but some of it at the same time is, us making sure that we're facing these things so that we can perhaps be somewhere different 2 years from now and not be at the same place because we never faced it. Yeah. So
that's good.
Hopefully this helps us to at least say some different things to ourselves. Like, you know what? I've allowed this in my past, but I won't allow it today because I'm going to change my future.
Yes. And also sometimes when you reflect, you think about situations or people that in your heart that you owe an apology to. Yeah. And you have to take responsibility. So maybe this could be a time for some self-reflection and maybe some apologies that could mend some relationships.
Yeah. Right? And even apologize to yourself sometimes. Yes. Like, you know what, self, I'm sorry.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I've been hurting you. I've been saying negative things to you. Yeah. And I have put you in a position where no wonder I second guess myself. And no wonder my self-esteem is low.
Right.
So I apologize for not saying how beautiful you are and how amazing you are and how successful you're going to be. And so sometimes we owe ourselves that apology because, we are where we are because we call ourselves broke. We call ourselves broken. Right? So you're right. Self-reflection, I think, is the real key here. And I hope that we help you to think more about that, whether, you go out and blame other people or blame yourself. At least there's some self-reflection there. So, hey guys, it's been another episode of the Self-Talk Experience. And remember, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determines what and even who we attract for ourselves.
Yes. That was good, babe.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if your apology is not sincere, you can keep it.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.